at the bottom of the page by Ois Gimel, and we were speaking about the pasuk in our parsha at Shabtoti Tishmero, and Mikdashei Tirahu, and we're speaking about that this corresponds to three levels in Shabbos, which Alter Rebbe divides into two, because there's this Rusdula Eila part of Shabbos, but in this Rusdula Eila part of Shabbos, there is the beginning of Shabbos, Friday night, Mikdashei V'Kaima, and that we only have to guard because it's Rusdula Eila. In Rusdula Eila, we just have to make sure by our observance of Shabbos not to do anything wrong. Then there's another level of Lasis Shabbos that we make up the Shabbos. We create the Shabbos. The creation of the Shabbos, that is something that is the avoid of Shabbos, has to do with Shabbos day. That's the Srusla Sata, Srusla Eila. By our doing down here, we evoke above the Karasala Shabbos Einig. Then there is Shabbos afternoon, Shabbos Mincha time, Shal Shudas time, where over there it's the third level of Shabbos, which really is divided into another Srusla Eila. So that's really two levels of Shabbos, Srusla Eila and Srusla Sata, which are included either in this Mikdashei Teirohu, because Mikdashei is going on the revelation from above, the level of Torah, similar to the third meal of Shabbos, which were Yotze through Divrei Torah. And it's also similar to Mashiach's times. That is Rusdula Eila, which is beyond this Rusdula Sata. That's on the third meal of Shabbos. That has to do with Mashiach's times, just like Mashiach's times is a time of Ein B'Lo Achila V'Lo Shtia, the same thing. We do not eat and drink at the third meal of Shabbos. We observe it through words of Torah. And these are the meanings of Esrapsayt Tishmoir Mikdashei Tirahu. And the Rebbe Shabbos Maimer explicitly says three dargas, and by Alter Rebbe he says two, but he hints at three levels. And he concludes with Ani Havaya, that Ani is going on the level of the ayin of Hashem's very essence. Neman l'shalom schar does not mean just a simple reward, but it's talking about the revelation of the ani, which is the Hashem's very essence, which is the same letters like the word ayin, and we have that revealed in our days, in the third meal of Shabbos, me'ain, the revelation of Mashiach's times, the level of the Ani of Hashem that's revealed beyond Avodah, just like the third level of Shabbos is beyond Avodah. It's a Srusla Eila that's higher than the Srusla Sata. That's connected with the Schar mitzvah, that the mitzvah itself is about the Bittul HaYesh La'ayin. The performance of a mitzvah is about taking the Yesh and being Mevatel to the Ayin, and that Ayin is going to become revealed. That's the Neman L'Shalom Schar that we say, Ani Havaya, that Hashem is faithful and trustworthy to pay the reward. That is the level of the reward of Mashiach's times, which is the mitzvah itself, the revelation of the Ayin. Okay, now we're going to continue further in this idea that Alter Rebbe and Kutei Torah speaks about the meaning of Ani in the Ani Havai. So we're holding line 27, the fourth page of the copies, Beis Gimel. Yes, we need to add to this, according to what's explained in by the Alter Rebbe and Kutei Torah. The meaning of Ani Havayim, she'ani dahainu atzmusa yizbarach. Ani is, as we always speak about the Chassidus, say by Aseres Adibros, Anoichi Havayim. There's the Anoichi Misha Anoichi, the very eye of the Eibishter, beyond any type of name. So we're saying that the Ani, which is Hashem's very essence, Hu Mamish Havayim, that is Mamish the level that is Yud Kei Vavke. Yud Kei Vavke is the level of godliness that has to do with the world, even so low as coming down into the world. Yud has to do with Olam Atzilus, because it has to do with Chachma, which is not Atzilus. Hey has to do with the world, with Bina, which has to do with the world of Bria, because that's where Bina of Atzilus comes down to. Vav has to do with the Shisha Midas, therefore has to do with the world of Yitzhira. The final Hey has to do with the world of Asiyah. So we're saying that the Ani is Havaya. The very level of Hashem's very essence comes down to be the Yud Kei Vav Kei. That is what's drawn down to come down and to fill all the worlds. Again, similar to what we say by Aseres HaDibros, Anoichi Havaya Lekecha, that Anoichi comes down into the Havaya of Yitivok, you say the Shtalshus, and then it's even Alekecha Kechacha V'Chayusech. In a similar vein, the Ani Havaya at the end of the pasuk is Tshapsoisi Tishmero as Mikdashi Tiro, and then Ani Havaya, the I of Hashem's very essence, comes down. It's not separate from that power that fills the world. The cool top of page 10, and it's entirely one. That's what Alter Rebbe says over there in Kuditai. Now he's going to explain this further about that connection. And he says, the idea behind this is the level of the Eibishter that's called Mamalaklam, that fills the world. Rabbi saying is also the Chazal give the example, just like the neshama fills the body, so to Hashem fills the world. Usually, we give this as an example and an analogy for the level of a likus that's called Mamalaklam. Rebbe extends this as follows. This means just like that life force of the body, the life force of the neshama that's enclosed in the body. It's drawn down into all the limbs and organs of the body. It comes down all over. That chayes of neshama comes down even in the heel. And even in the nails, and even in the toenail. So to the level of the Malkalamin comes down, even in a place of concealment, even in a place of covering, and even in a place that there is opposition to Elikus. The Rebbe says this even in Tanya concerning those that fight against the Talmid Chachamim, that they get their chayes from the Talmid Chacham. In a similar vein, at the very time that a person does something against the will of Hashem, he's still getting the chayes of Hashem, as unbelievable as that is. But despite the fact that Memal Kalam descends so low, so one might think, that can't be Hashem's essence. It descends so low, but Hashem's essence has to be removed. He says, my Shakli is Memal Kalam, the Alter Rebbe says, that what comes now to fill the world, Ulachad Imani, Watzmusi is Baruch, it's entirely one with the level of Hashem's very essence. This means specifically, it's not just that they're together, but the Rebbe adds another component. Specifically through doing the avodah in a place of concealment, in a place of covering. Why can it be in such a state of covering is because of the level of Malkalamin. So the fact that I'm engaging the world in such a low place, because of that, that's why we can grab hold of, so to speak, Hashem's very essence, because as we know, it's Kolosim B'Seifon, that Hashem, that the beginning is embedded in the end, and so on. So therefore, specifically dealing with these lowest, most levels, that's how I attain the highest level. That's how I reach this highest level as well. So he says in line 14, according to this, we could explain the reason. This Maimer of the Torah, Shabtoi site, Tishmero, Mikdashei, Teiroh, Ani Havaya, V'chein Dibra Maskal Azeh Shal Kvektis Admonish Meseid Nanal, and also the same Maimer of the Rebbe Rashab that we said from the year Tafresh Ayin Tes. While there's a Shara Drushim B'Dibra Maskal Azeh between the Alter Rebbe and the Rebbe Rashab, and there's other Rebbeim that have Mamarim on this Dibra Maskal, on this title. So the Rebbe points out a very interesting thing. who ala posik as Shabtotai goymer parshas Bahar daf. It's specifically on the posik as Shabtotai Tishmero, etc. It's in parshas Bahar. After posik zen nemar kvar lifnei zeh parshas kedoshim. This very pasuk already says in Parshas Kedoshim, the identical pasuk. It says in Perek Yutes in Parshas Kedoshim, it says after speaking about, I'm trying to see over here for a second quickly, that he's speaking about as usual in Parshas Kedoshim, he has like a myriad different halachas of different things, and he says that as Shabsoi say Tishmoro Mikdashi Tiro and the Avaya, after talking about before talking about different types of avodah zarah and different types of magicians and other types of intimacy laws, he says this pasuk. So the Rebbe says identical. As Shabsoi Tishmoro Mikdashi Tiro and the Avaya. So the Rebbe is pointing out an amazing thing. All the Mamorim, all the Rabbeim that are analyzing and explaining this pasuk choose to specifically speak about this pasuk as it is in Parshas Bahar. They do not focus on this exact same pasuk in Parshas Kedoshim. The Rebbe is going to say, based on what we just now explained, that Ani Havaya means that specifically in the lowest place of Memal Klam, in the lowest place where it comes down to the ultimate Helam Vehester and concealment and covering, that is where the ultimate level of Ani, the level of Atzmus, becomes revealed. And because of that, this is more, has to do with the theme of Parshas Bahar than what the theme of the name Kedoshim stands for. It says in line 20, the idea behind this is, in Achiluk, the difference between these two psukim, though they are identical, which are pasuk, but show Parshas Kedoshim koy avodas tzaddik. The pasuk in Parshas Kedoshim is referring to the avodah of tzaddikim. Why? Just look at the title of the parsha. And b'nei Yisrael and b'maimed or matzah b'kedoshim too. It's the way the Jewish people on the state and situation of what it says right away at the beginning of the parsha. You shall be holy. And as the Rebbe many times explains, the name of the parsha has to do with every single part of the parsha. It's not just, okay, it happens to be the name at the beginning of the parsha, but we have to call it something, so we chose one of the earlier words in the parsha. No, the entire parsha is called by that name. And the Shem HaShikul or B'Lashon HaKodesh, the name that something is called in Lashon Kodesh, is the chayis of that whole thing. So it means the meaning of every part of this parsha has to do with the word Kedoshim. And Kedoshim indicates Yidden the way they are in their pure holy state, the level of tzaddikim. So even the pasuk as Shabtotai Tishmoro Mikdashi Tiro and the Avaya that's in Parshas Kedoshim is the way a tzaddik deals and has that level. Line 24, Mashenkin pasuk in Parshas Bahar, as opposed to the pasuk that's in Parshas Bahar, is it's referring to the service of tshuva. The idea of tshuva appears in a state of concealment and a state of covering of godliness. That is where the chiddush is, that there is the most and the greatest connection with Ani Havaya, with the level of essence. Where do we see that Parshas Bahar expresses the idea of the avodah of Baal Tshuva? Pirish Rashi, like Rashi explains, that Rashi is obviously bothered as well by this issue. Why do we have to, perhaps Rashi is bothered as well by this issue. Why is he actually repeated one parsha after the other? And he says over here, Shabtotai Tishmoro and Mikdashi Tiro and the Avaya. So why in this parsha are we talking about Shabbos, even though many parshas talk about Shabbos? So the Rashi explains it directly connected with the idea that it speaks about someone that's sold as a servant. Someone that's sold as a servant, that person needs to be told as Shabtotai Tishmoro. Why is it What's it talking about? Because it's talking about someone that was sold into servitude to a guy. Pirish Rashi, like Rashi explained, pasuk that koy Allah ninkro nachri. This pasuk is telling someone that was sold to a guy, and it's telling him, even though you were sold to a guy, still in all, as Shabtoti Tishmero, you still need to guard and observe the Shabbosim. How? Why would we think otherwise? So he says in the parentheses, he quotes on Rashi, that the servant shouldn't say, Rabbi Michal Shabbos, since my master, the guy, transgresses and violates Shabbos, also I will do like him and also transgress Shabbos, and I also won't keep Shabbos, and therefore the pasuk says, that you have to guard and observe the Shabbos anyway. So this has to do with the idea of tshuva. Why? Because this idea of being sold to goyim, that is akin and similar to a golus type of situation. It says in line 29, Shazo, flawless, I'm in the matzah of this mana golus. That's a general statement situation of the time of golus. The time of golus is a time, like it says in Megillus Esther, of being sold as slaves and maidservants. Zehu now. So therefore, based on this, that over here we're talking about someone that is in a golus situation, someone that's a state of a Baal Tshuva, top of page Yud. That's why these mamorim shebehem is by Hagil. Then in those mamorim explain the revelation of the future time, Mashiach's time. That come from above in the way of a gift. It said specifically in the pasuk in the Parshas Bahar. Why? Because to reach this gift that comes from above, and to reach this gift that comes only when Mashiach comes, the law to be able to come to the highest revelations of Mashiach's times. It's not through a service of tzaddikim. Only through the avodah that's out of a state of hiddenness and concealment. Therefore, the Mamarim speak about a person that is sold to a guy that may even think that he has to work on Shabbos. And Davke, someone in such a situation that keeps Shabbos, that's what triggers the revelations of Mashiach's times. Just like the general idea of the future redemption is connected specifically with avodah of tshuva. Like the Zohar says, Mashiach also the Mashiach is going to come to make tzaddikim do tshuva. In this idea that it says that Mashiach is going to bring tzaddikim to do tshuva, that phrase emphasizes not just that when Mashiach comes, we'll have both advantages. One could think of Mashiach comes, we'll only have the level of tzaddikim, we'll only have the level of Baal Tshuva. So by saying that he's going to make tzaddikim into Baal Tshuva, that means we will have both qualities. Why? Because even though we say Baal Tshuva is a great thing, but even concerning Tshuva Shlema, the greatest level of Tshuva, there's a certain advantage of Tzaddikim over Baal Tshuva. So therefore, Mashiach comes will have both advantages, the quality of Tzaddikim, the quality of Baal Tshuva. But that's not the only point that the Zohar is trying to say. Because if that was the only point that the Zohar was trying to say, that will have both qualities, that also the quality of Tzaddikim, and also the quality and advantage of Baal Tshuva, so therefore, he should have maybe said it the other way around, and this would have been like so much gishmakir. He should have said the other way, that Mashiach will affect that even Baal Tshuva will be tzaddikim. Person that doesn't learn Chassidus and is not familiar with the Zohar, and he wants to say about even when Mashiach comes, we'll have both advantages. So we would phrase it like this, Now Baal Tshuva seem to be only Baal Tshuva. When Mashiach comes, Baal Tshuva will also be tzaddikim. No, the Zohar says specifically the other way around. He's saying, guess what? Tzaddikim will be made into Baal Tshuva. Why specifically that way? If he's just trying to tell you that there'll be both qualities. So he says in line 14, the emphasis in this is Al Mailas HaTshuva, on the mile of tshuva. In other words, Mashiach is coming to improve the situation. If we were saying that even about tshuva becoming a tzaddik, so then we're saying that tshuva is not as great as a tzaddik, and we are improving it, and the Mashiach is bringing it to a level that the Baal Tshuva will also be a tzaddik. By saying it the opposite, we're saying that when Mashiach comes, what is the main quality that will be revealed when Mashiach comes? The quality of Baal Tshuva. And therefore, even tzaddikim we're bringing up to the level of Baal Tshuva. And that ensures the true level of the need to become revealed. The canal, like we said before, specifically through the avodah in the state of concealment and covering, do we grab hold of the level of ani, Hashem's very essence. So that is the point over here, why it's specifically in Parshas Bahar, because Parshas Bahar speaks about the level of the Baal Tshuva, because that's where the true level of Mashiach's times manifests, the level of ani, the level of matana, the level of the third level of Shabbos, etc. Ois Daled, line 18, 6th page of the printouts. We can connect this with Pesach Sheni and Lag BaOmer. We are right now in between. Yesterday, Pesach Sheni, Sunday is going to be Lag BaOmer. But in that year, in Tafshin Chafei, when the Rebbe said the Maimer, that the calendar setup of Pesach Sheni and Lag BaOmer in Tafshin Chafei was B'Shavua, the Parshas Bahar. Both of them, both Pesach Sheni and Lag BaOmer were both in the same week of Parshas Bahar. Va'aliyah Shalahem, their ascent, they're going to a higher level, is specifically in the Parshas Bahar, the Vayichulu, Yibiyom Shabbos Parshas Bahar is in the day of Shabbos Parshas Bahar, like the Rebbe many times explains. It says Vayichulu Ashmayim Va'aretz. Vayichulu means the word completion, that Shabbos completes everything and elevates everything from the past week. It's also brought down the Chassidus constantly that the tefillas that I daven the whole week become elevated through the tefillos of Shabbos, the berudim and the refining of the sparks I did a whole week become elevated in Shabbos. And the Rebbe extends that as well to all the occasions and occurrences that occurred during the week. Any Yom Tov that occurred during the week, as high and as great as that Yom Tov is, they reach a higher level of perfection on the Shabbos following. So therefore, since the Rebbe was now in the Parshas Bahar when he said the Maimer, and during the previous week of Parshas Bahar was Pesach Sheni Lag BaOmer, so that means on that Parshas Bahar of that year, it was the elevation and the ascent and the inclusion of Pesach Sheni and Lag BaOmer. He says, Kim Sheshneihem Pesach Sheni Lag BaOmer Sheyachim Linashuv. Rebbe explains that both Pesach Sheni and Lag BaOmer are both connected to the idea of Tshuva. How are both connected to the idea of Tshuva? They said, Pesach Sheni Pesach Sheni was a result of the men and the people that were impure. Why? Because they came in contact with a corpse, with a dead body. The general idea of death and the impurity that's associated with death is a result of the sin of the Eitz Hadas. So therefore, impurity and that which was the initial cause of the whole Yom Tov of Pesach Sheni has to do with Avedas. Pesach Sheni Shua Tikkun al Zeh. What's the idea of Pesach Sheni? Pesach Sheni is to make up for those that were tummy. So that means, by extension, it's about making up for the idea of Aveda, which caused the idea of Tum. Therefore, who in not Tshuva? So Pesach Sheni is the idea of Tshuva. So again, it fits in with the whole idea because through Tshuva we have this greater revelation of the Ani, which only comes through the Helm of Hester. Balder of the Lag BaOmer in a similar vein, Lag BaOmer also has to do with Tshuva. Yom Hailul, the Rab Shimon ben Yochai, the Yartzeit of Rab Shimon ben Yochai. In Yiddu, it's known in Yonish Rav Shimon ben Yechoy, the idea of Rav Shimon ben Yechoy, or Achibur, Shal Pnimis HaTorah im Gali Torah. It's the joining of the inner part of the Torah with the revealed part of the Torah. Baregili Pnimis HaTorah, the revelation of the inner part of Torah, Bo Aide Inyan Shal Shvira, comes about through breaking, to Brochenkeit, being broken. Do a Pisgim, which is Adam Rasham saying, like it's known, the saying of the Rebbe Rashab, recorded in the Sichos Torah Sholem, the Inyan Hazayis Hazeh, Kishvekotcher Noise Moitzi Sham. Just like an olive, when you press it, it brings out the oil. So too, the Rebbe Rashab was speaking about how through the arrest and imprisonment of the Alter Rebbe in Petersburg, so through that, Alter Rebbe gave out more oil, more chassidus came out as a result of the arrest, and that's why the Mamorim after Petersburg is so much more longer and elaborate than the much shorter Mamorim that were said before Petersburg. Now, what does this have to do with Shuvah? So he says, the idea of the pressing and the crushing of the olive has to do with being brokenhearted. In the Mamorim of Parshas Baloiskan and the Amarim of Chanukah, where it speaks about the oil that was used for the menorah, Chanukah and Lois have to do with the oil and the menorah. It speaks about one of the processes, the breaking of the olive, and the breaking and the crushing of the olive. He explains over there has to do with the idea of tshuva. She says, "Oh, we're not tshuva. That's the idea of tshuva." So therefore, again, since the Rashbi was about the revelation of the inner part of the Torah, and the inner part of the Torah comes through crushing, therefore there's the idea of the tshuva again, which has to do with leiv nishbar. So we see that Lag BaOmer has to do with tshuva, and Pesach Sheni has to do with tshuva. So catch the Pesach Sheni Lag BaOmer Parshas Bahar. This is the connection of Pesach Sheni Lag BaOmer to Parshas Bahar. Try the tshuva, the Pesach Sheni Lag BaOmer through the tshuva of that both Pesach Sheni and Lag BaOmer indicate. Boim Lam Mitzvahs Askar. We come to the true reward. Ani Havayim Neman L'Shaval B'Schar. I'm believed and trustworthy and reliable on to repay the reward that we said the reward is going on Shiach's times. It's the reward is the joining with the level of Hashem's ani. That's what is drawn down and become revealed in the future in the level of a gift. Is the Shabbos, the third level of Shabbos, the Tishmero, which is included in the idea of the my Shabbosim you shall guard, because the third level of Shabbos, which is a gift, has to be guarded like the first level of Shabbos. It's also the level of my Mikdash you shall fear, that we said, what's my Mikdash? That's a level of Torah, like we said before. Yes, we can add in the connection and bond and association with Lag BaOmer. Being Lag BaOmer. Point what's explained about Marach Chassidus concerning Lag BaOmer. Since Lag BaOmer comes out on the day where it has to do with the sphere of Hoitcha B'Hoid, is the conclusion and the end of the spheres when you're dealing with the primary midas. The main midas is till Hoid, so Hoitcha B'Hoid, like we're finished with the midas primarily. Yeah, there are some more, but primarily we're finished with the midas. Therefore, it comes out that Lag BaOmer is a demarcation line. It's a certain stop and conclusion of something to go on to the next level. Nimtza comes out. If Lag BaOmer Pranishma, you can avoid the Sfiras Omer. Lag BaOmer is already concluded. The main avoid of Sfiras Omer, Maschila, Haskola, Hachonel, Matan Torah begins the preparation for Matan Torah, Vada Inyan Torah, Kashur, in the Kinas Matan. We've said before the idea of Matan Torah is connected with a gift. Like we said, the gift, Matan Torah is also called Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah. Its primary level will become revealed in the future redemption, like we mentioned before.